Hello, good day everyone. In this video, we are going to be deploying a full stack application into Microsoft Azure. So to be more specific, we are going to be deploying a MERN stack, which is MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. We are going to be deploying a full stack app. It has a database, it has React in the front end, Node in the back end, and we are going to be using Nginx as a web server, as well as we'll be using a process manager, PM2. So let me share my screen. The first thing we are going to be doing, so I believe you can see my screen now. We're in the Azure portal. I'll be creating a virtual machine, Ubuntu to be specific. We're creating a virtual machine that our web server is going to host our application. So let me call this 5. Yeah, availability options. I don't need that. I want to reduce costs because this is just a test. Ubuntu 20.04 is fine. Yeah, I'm good with standard B1, hardware, SSH, and that's good. So let me open ports 80 and 443, and I can review and create. So before this validates, okay, I think it's already on. So let me create now. While this is creating, in the previous video, I explained what we want to do as well as the architecture for our deployment. But just in case anyone is joining us right now, this is just a simple architecture that contains what we want to do. We are going to be using PM2, which is process manager in Ubuntu, which is just to ensure that our server continues to run even though some hiccups might cause it to break at some point, but it should always restart and continue to run. Then we have our Nginx, which is the web server that would be sitting between the user and our application. Then we're also going to be using Helmet. Helmet is for security headers. So this is already done. So let's go to our resource. Yeah, so our application is running. We have a public IP. If I should copy this public IP and I paste it on the URL, nothing will pop up because we don't have a web server yet. Because we don't have a web server. But after we've installed Nginx, we'll be able to see something. So even though our port 80, port 443 are opened, but there's no web server that would sit between our browser and the server that would translate requests and give back a response. So that's why it's not running. So let me open my bash. Let me open my bash. So I'll stop sharing my web browser and I would reshare my bash screen. Let me reshare. Yeah, so as usual, the first thing you need to do when you are when you want to log into, so let me see if I can find this. Okay, so let me copy this to the current directory. Let me copy my PEM file to where I am because I do not want it to be in my download folder. And I do not want to be setting paths to my download folder because Linux environment uses / Windows likes / and I do not want to be using too many quotes. So let me just copy it where I am. And let me go over here and yeah, so we have that. Then I also need to change this IP to the IP that was copied from the console, the browser console. Yeah, so let's see if we would be able to log into the server. Yes. Yeah, and now we are in. We are into our server. Let me see where I am. Okay, so the first thing you need to do when you are in such a server is to update. So sudo apt update. So I'm updating my server now. Yeah, so as I said, what we want to do is this is a full stack application. It's a lot more complicated than when you just want to deploy just a React application. This one has a database and has Express. So another thing we want to do is to upgrade. Upgrade. Want to upgrade. Yes, yes. Yeah. Yeah, so we've upgraded our server. All the repositories in our server has been upgraded. The next thing we want to do is to install our web server. So I'll just be copying this because of time. Hopefully we wouldn't have to cut this video into multiple videos, but if it's too long, I will have to do that. Just be copying, and we need to enable Nginx, and this is the command for that, to enable Nginx. Then afterwards, we need to confirm that Nginx is actually, it has been enabled and it's working. So we can use status, and we can also confirm from the IP address. And confirm from the IP address too. So let me just use the status. Yeah, we can see it is running. So what we can do, so if I should enter the IP address now, that's the IP address for our virtual machine, we are going to see the engineer's default page. But because of our time, I don't want to stop sharing and reshare my browser. So let's just go straight to configuring our engineers to be able to speak to our Node application. So I'm seeding into where we have our Nginx. Then we're already here. Let's see what we have here. There's a default file. So now we are going to open the default file using Vim. We can either choose to modify the default file or we copy it into, and we create a new file and we copy its content into the new file. which I think is preferable. So we have this, we are calling this my server. Then we now need to open my server and modify its contents. Yeah, so we have this. So Vim is a very interesting, should I call it a text editor? Because the way it works, it can be a little bit complicated if you are not very familiar with it. But however, we would work with it. So we first need to, let's just delete everything here because we want to add our own content. So what we do is, whatsoever you want to do on Vim, you just use colon. So I'll just enter colon percentage D, which will delete everything, then enter. It deletes everything. Then for me to be able to enter the insert mode, all I need to do is to press I. So now I'm going to copy some scripts and I will paste them over here. And what they're essentially doing is they're just telling us that we should use, we should talk to our node. That's really what's happening. So let me just copy them. Yeah, so I'll paste. Yeah, so let's just, okay, so let me start from the top. So listing import 80, that's fine. And the directory structure, apps is good, but I want to change this to blog app. I want to change this to blog app, client build. I would still explain a little bit more on why we are doing this. So the IP, I need to replace this IP with our own IP. So let me just confirm our IP. Our IP is 172.191, 172.191 dot 4148. 41.48. Okay, so afterwards, let me change this to API because all our routes, I think, yeah, based on API. Then local host, is it 8080? Let me confirm if my Express is running on 8080 or 5000. I know I have some applications some full stack applications that are running on 5000. Some other ones are running on 8080. Let me just confirm. Okay, so this is running on 8080 as if no port is specified as an environment variable. It's running on 8080. So this works, at least for now. Then this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. So let me just, this is fine. This is fine, at least for our test. So you can modify this. This is just telling our Nginx the routes that it should have a response for. It should accept. So I would Control C now, Control C. Then afterwards, if I want to exit, if I want to save and exit, what I will do is I will use colon. You know, I said everything. When you want to write out your command, you start with colon. So I just use the Control C to move out of the insert mode. Then I use WQ. That would save and exit. Let me just look to be sure that everything is working well. So this does not address SSL, but we just want it to be as simple as possible. Yeah, so we have this. Then what we'll do is, the next thing we need to do is to enable the server that we just created, the site available. Yeah, so this is the command we use for that. Yeah, so I think this works. Okay, so afterwards, what we are going to do is to restart Nginx. So we are restarting Nginx now. Yeah, so this is even the old command. These days we use systemctl restart Nginx, but this also, it still works. Then what we have to do now is, this is the interesting part. So we now want to copy our application into our server. So, but before we do it, let's first install our node. So let me just go to my home directory, cd/home/Azure user. Then so you can, this command I'm about copying, you can always get it from the GitHub page for Node. That was where I got it from, to install Node. But because of our time, I do not want to go over to that page. Yeah, so we are installing Node.js now. So Node.js is being installed. Yeah, and Node is installed. We can confirm that it's installed /v. I can see version 18.19 has been installed. Another thing we are going to install, which I spoke about, is PM2, which is just a package manager. That's the best practice way of running Node and even Python. It works with Python too on the server. So we have this, and we're installing PM2 now. Yeah, so that is sorted out. Then afterwards, what we need to do is to copy our application. You know, I have the application, the blog app, which I want to host on Azure, which I'm deploying on Azure. So the blog app is a full stack blog app. We have a database, we have a server, we have a client side. It's full stack. It's a MERN application, MERN. So we want to copy the code now. But before we do that, I want to just ensure that I have created. So let's see, where are we? Print working directory. We're in home Azure user. So let me make a new directory and I'll call it apps so that it will fit with what we already told Nginx as the path to our file. So now let's ls, we can see our apps. So now let's cd into apps. And now since we have our apps now, we can now see how we can copy our code. This is where we want to copy our code into. So what I will do is, let me move out of this server. I want to go to my own computer now. So let me exit. Yeah, I'm in my computer now. So I would paste this. So let me just go by here. The PEM file should be Lulu file. We want to do a recursive copy. So everything inside that folder is what we are copying. Everything inside blog app is what we want to copy into Azure user ads. This should be my IP. So I'm removing this, I'm putting the IP, which is 172.191.41.78. Then this is the part home Azure user apps. So I want it to be copied here. Okay, so let's copy. Hopefully it works well. Yeah, so we are copying now. I'm just copying everything. So everything is being copied now. We are using this SCP tool. So occasionally, there's also a Windows version for this, which is more easier to use. And I use it even more often than SCP command. That's WinSCP. So you can also use that as an alternative to using this SCP command. That one, you just need to drag and drop, and it's way easier to use. Yeah, this will be done very, very soon. So after it's done, we would SSH into our server again. I don't know. We might. So let me stop this video here, and in the next part we are going to continue. I do not want the video to be too long. Yeah, it's already done, but I would continue immediately, but I want it to be in another video. I hope so far we've been enjoying our conversation so far. So what we've just completed doing is copying files from my computer to a server on Microsoft Azure. That's what we just did. Let me stop sharing and we'll continue in our next video.